Claudia,
Carolina,
and Raquel.
We are going to talk about the balance between the tradition or the religion against the animal welfare. The Constitutional Law of 2022 in Italy amended the Article 9 of the Italian Constitution, adding the protection for the environment, the biodiversity and the ecosystem, and provided also that the law of the state shall discipline the forms and the methods for the protection of animals. In formulating and implementing the Union's agriculture, fisheries, transport, internal market, research, and technological development and space policies, the Union and the Member States shall, since animals are sentient beings, pay full regard to the welfare requirements of animals, while respecting the legislative or administrative provisions and customs of the Member States, relating in particular to religious rights, cultural traditions, and regional heritage.
why animal rights matter, and what need to be improved. Rights are not based on intelligence, but they are based on the ability to feel pain and suffering. Both humans and animals have the interest of avoiding pain, and this interest should be respected equally. Religion traditions, like halal, requires that animals should be killed without any stunning. But the Court of Justice of European Union ruled that it cannot. According to EU regulation, organic product must follow the highest animal welfare standards. And the stunning before slaughtered is the general rule because it reduces the pain and suffering of animals. And this case show how European Union prioritize animal welfare in organic production. But anyway, the religious slaughter remains legal.
There are some case laws in which there is the balance between the religion and the animal welfare. In particular, in 2024, there was a case ruled by the European Court of Human Rights, Belgian Muslims against Belgium. In 2018 and 2019, some Belgian Muslims and Muslim groupings appealed to the Belgian Constitutional Court against the Flemish and Walloon decrees that affirmed the prohibition of the animal slaughter without a prior standing, and that went against the dietary restrictions of Muslims that are an integral part of their religion. So they appealed to the Constitutional Court. The Constitutional Court referred to the Court of Justice of the European Union and affirmed that the prohibition was compatible with the Article 10 of the European Charter. In 2024, this case was regulated by the European Court of Human Rights that upholds the Flemish and Walloon decrees prohibiting the animal slaughter without prior standing, and also said that this interference with religious freedom was justified. Justified because it had a legitimate aim, the protection of a moral value that is the animal welfare. Also because it's prescribed by law, and it's legitimate because it's necessary in a democratic society. In particular, it recognized to different member states a margin of appreciation due to the lack of an homogeneous consensus on the topic, and also is provided by the Flemish and the Walloon legislator an alternative method. So at the end, we can say that this prohibition wasn't against the Article 9 and the Article 14 of the European Court of Human Rights, and so there was in Belgium a fair balance between the animal welfare and the religious freedom.
But what is bullfighting? Bullfighting is one of the oldest traditions in Spain, especially in cities like Seville, Pamplona, or Madrid. Some people think that it's important for the culture, and some others think that it's cruel to the animals. Pros of bullfighting. As I said before, bullfighting takes part of our tradition and culture, and it shows passion, and art. It's also important for the economy, as many tourists come every year to see bullfighting, and it helps local business and rural life. The bulls are raised in las ganaderías by los ganaderos, and this gives a lot of job to the people. Also, raising a bull is good. Cons of bullfighting: animal suffering. Of course, I don't know if you have seen some videos about bullfighting, but the animal is killed during the acting and agonizes, scream, and try to survive from del torero, knowing that the final destiny is death. Many Spanish society, including young people, do not support bullfighting, as they think that it's cruel for animal and not necessary at all. In Spain, we have a law that protects animals' welfare, but this is just for pets and wild animals. This law is called Ley 7/2023 de Protección de Derechos y Bienestar Animal. However, the bull is excluded from this law, so bullfighting is still legal in Spain. What can be the solution? I think that it's up to Spanish society to decide what is more important, if compassion or tradition, or just finding another way to celebrate tradition without hurting anyone.
In 2010, Catalonia passed a law that banned bullfighting. The reason was to protect animal welfare. But in 2016, the Spanish Constitutional Court annulled the ban. The judges ruled that Catalonia, as a region, could regulate animal protection, but it doesn't have the authority to prohibit the bullfighting entirely. Bullfighting is recognized by the state legislation as part of Spain's intangible cultural heritage.
The long process of guaranteeing protection of the animal rights and the bullfighting question is an academic article written by Lucas Martín Javier and published in the Revista Catalana de Dret Ambiental in 2023. The author tells us that since the 18th century there is a recognition of the animals not as an object but as a sentient being, because it recognizes the animals the capacity to suffer. So obviously not all the human rights can be applied to the animals, but it's important with the animal rights to protect the cruelty and the slaughter and the violence against the animals. The author affirms that in the case of the bullfighting there is a gratuitous harm and also a society harm, because there is a spectacle that enforces the violence and the cruelty. So the real question is not whether to ban bullfighting, but how long we will delay it. There are three arguments that are used by the defenders of the bullfighting: the tradition, the freedom, and also the idea of the bullfighting as a cultural heritage. But for the author of this article, the tradition is not enough to justify such a violence like this.
Animal rights activists often conflict with some religion tradition like halal or kosher that often occurs without stunning. What is halal? Halal in Arabic means permissible. There are some forbidden foods like pork, alcohol, blood, or animals that die in a natural way. During the slaughtering, the animals must be alive and healthy, and the slaughter are cut the throat, the windpipe, and the major arteries, and during this cut, the name of good is pronounced, so Bismillah. Kosher is a Jewish word and it's a similar practice to halal. The permitted foods in kosher are the land animals that have a split hooves, like cow and sheep. For the sea creatures, they have to be scales and fins, like for example salmon and tuna, while the mollusks no. So the slaughtering during the kosher practice is very similar to halal, but the slaughtered is scaled shoshet. During this practice, the cut is very quick to minimize the suffering of the animal. What animal rights activists argue and what religious communities argue? All animals should be protected under the same welfare standards, and stunning reduce animal suffering, so for this reason it could be mandatory. It is a religious obligation, so change the method violated the sacred law. Also, it is a part of a cultural identity, so banning the ritual slaughter is seen as an attack on their culture and their traditions. And then it concerns with religious freedom, so limit their ability to practice their faith. For this reason, also the method is considered respectful. When done correctly, ritual slaughter is seen as quick and is regulated by strict rules. Animal ethical rights in Islam are drawing in the Quran in the jurisdictional traditions. The sources show us how the animal is considered capable of intelligence and suffering being. So for this reason, the human have the duty of treating in a correct way these animals. We have a theological foundation. For example, God is the creator and the owner of the all creatures. So humans, like his vicegerents, are accountable for how they treat the animals. So animals are regarded as intelligence beings and capable of perception and communication. In this article, we have different rights for animals. For example, right to life, right to a nutrition and a health, right to reproduction, right to for humans, right to use perceptive faculties, and right for human usage, and the right to mental and emotional well-being. So, how to balance religion tradition against the exploitation of animals? The answer is a little complicated because we haven't a unique answer for all countries, because we have different solutions that the European Court had to us. For example, mitigate solutions. Every country could decide its own rule, balancing their own culture, traditions. European jurisprudence and comparative constitutional law preferred the state to the favor case-by-case balancing, so protecting freedom of religions and tradition, while allowing the state to adopt proportionate measures to reduce animal suffering, like for example the reversible stunning. Courts have tended to accept such regulation as fair balance. So, also in some contexts, for example in Spain, protection of tradition could be prevail over religious prohibition. Thank you for the attention. Bye bye.